This week's Parsha is Vayera. It's the second Torah portion in the book of Exodus, or known as Shemot. It contains 7 of the 10 plagues. The other 3 are in next week's Parsha. And there are many ideas talking about the linking of the Parshiot of the 10 plagues to the statements of creation that God made the world. One of them is that, so to speak, by God shutting out the lights, so to speak, like in the 9th plague of darkness, he was showing that he was the one who made the lights in the second statement of creation when God said, "Let there be light." And the idea really is that the one who can turn off creation is the one who turned it on, and that we know that God created the world through the fact that he made the 10 plagues. You can even say we personally experienced the creation of the world by personally experiencing the Exodus with its 10 plagues. One of the famous commentators, the Maharal from Prague, notes that there's a one-to-one correspondence, not necessarily following any simple order, between the 10 plagues and the 10 statements of creation in order to show how the belief, how the witnessing of the 10 plagues taught us that God created the world. In fact, one of my teachers in Israel told me many years ago that the last few words of the Torah are in the eyes of all of Israel, connect to the first few words. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, to say that actually the Jewish people in their eyes saw creation, but what it refers to actually is that we saw the 10 plagues. One of the things that comes out, if you assume it's an exact reverse order, which most commentators don't, is that the firstborn, death of the firstborn, last plague, went with the first statement of creation in the beginning, both tremendously great. And the darkness we already mentioned is opposite the creation of the light. But if you follow down the path, so to speak, the second plague was frogs, comes out opposite, believe it or not, the creation of man. What do they have to do with each other? Well, one is that both man and the first frog that came out were gigantic. And the frog, the gigantic one, contained all the small frogs, see Rashi there. And the Medrash says that all the souls of mankind were inside of Adam, who was huge, spiritually and maybe physically as well. But there's a fantastic idea. I thought of it on my own. Take it or leave it. But that is that the frogs, in general, go through an amazing process called metamorphosis, where it's basically a fish, for all intents and purposes, not biologically, but it's basically a fish swimming underwater, looks like a fish, sounds like a fish, so to speak, breathes like a fish, and then all of a sudden it grows legs and becomes a frog and becomes, I guess you'd call it amphibious, going underwater and above water. It's completely different than what it was. And there are a few other things that do this in the creation, but a frog is one of the greatest ones. Maybe my favorite really is the caterpillar to the butterfly. But what it's teaching us really is that God wanted us to know that man can undo himself and go through a complete metamorphosis. A person never has to think he's stuck where he is spiritually. He can change. He can become better. He can become greater. He can become someone who literally is a different person. And Shabbat is a great time to work on that. So have a great Shabbat, and we all should be growing and becoming different people.